Phil Egan's here. How are you?
Good. Oh, this is bring back the memories.
Bit of FOMO?
A bit of... Not really, no. Sounds like
Not one bit.
No.
Especially with the wind that's out there. We may chat a bit of football, Phil. It was quite an evening in two different countries, really, last night, from the Premier League to La Liga. We may as well start with Manchester United last night. This is a good result for the Premier League because we haven't got much in terms of final day sagas over the last couple of years, but the fact that Manchester United play Leicester in the final day, them staying toe-to-toe on equal points is necessary for the neutral.
Yeah, obviously they've got a game to play in between that. And do you know what? Before yesterday, I kind of thought Leicester looked like they're doomed here. And then Brendan's side showed great character. And Sheffield United they leave you scratching your head where you think they're in good form. They've beaten Chelsea, they've beat Wolves, and then, you know, Chris Wilder talked about how he couldn't even speak to the players at half-time. He was so disgusted with them. So not only did Leicester win, but they created plenty of chances, Jamie Vardy in particular. And, you know, you think of Luke Thomas making his debut, or his first start, a 19-year-old, and sets up the goal for Iosi Perez. So that game away to Tottenham on Sunday, even what I'm looking at as well in terms of the fixtures that are left, but the timings of it as well, the fact that Manchester United are obviously playing an FA Cup semi-final this weekend against Chelsea. Leicester play this weekend in the league. They have a chance to lay down the marker, to get the points on the board and put the pressure on United, who play West Ham in the league during next week. Now, West Ham obviously play tonight, but if West Ham were to lose, then all of a sudden they are in dire need of the points. So there's so many little things going on. Obviously, the relegation battle still isn't done and dusted, but teams involved in the relegation battle could also have an influence on what happens in the Champions League places. But for this amazing run United are on, 19 games unbeaten in all competitions, scoring goals, they're still fifth. So it'd be some blow if they didn't actually get into the top four. But do you know what? With 2 games to go, I think they definitely, if I was to pick one of the 3 that I think are going to finish top 4, I would pick United. Now, Chelsea obviously still have to play Liverpool. But, you know, obviously Liverpool gave Arsenal 3 points the other night, but Liverpool are getting the trophy next week. They're also playing at Anfield. And I know they dropped points against Burnley last week, but it wasn't for a lack of creating chances. So it's hard to see Chelsea go to Anfield and get a win. Now, they've done it before when they needed to, when they were going for a title against United. I seem to remember Steven Gerrard playing a lovely ball to Didier Drogba. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, can't imagine Liverpool losing to Chelsea.
No, just on that point of Manchester United and the Champions League, how material is the fact that it is now a possibility that they may not actually qualify for this? Because we've had a lot of talk over the last little while about how they're back on song, but we've also had the material thing of Paul Pogba being interested in putting pen to paper on a new contract. How precarious the situation with those sort of deals be, and the prospective people that they want to bring into the club if they do finish 5th?
Yeah, like obviously, you know, it has a huge say on what kind of players you can get. You know, Bruno Fernandes has transformed them since he's come in, and you know, there was a guy that was playing Europa League football with Sporting, and you know, was happy to move to United because he could see, obviously, it's such a huge club and he's been such a pivotal signing. But that's something that, you know, obviously there's a lot resting on what happens in the next couple of games. But as I said, I still think United are going to do it, and if they don't, you know, they've shown in the past that they can still attract players given the club they are. But say a name that keeps being linked with them is Jadon Sancho. Does that become dead in the water if they're not playing in the Champions League? See, it's a bit different because next season is going to be a little bit different in terms of the season's going to be condensed. Obviously, given what's going on in the world, means that players might be more willing to accept certain situations because of what is going on in the world.
And clubs will be able, or be more willing to accept certain situations as well. So I think the Manchester United tax may not be as high as it would have been in previous years. That if Borussia Dortmund are coming to United and saying, we want 120 million for Sancho, it probably means they want 120 million. They're not going to get into negotiations and say, actually give us 140, 150 here because you're Manchester United. it may be an opportune time for United to spend a bit of money, even if it is a fairly uncertain time to be spending such big cash.
Yeah, one thing we've seen with United over the last few years is they get a transfer target and it seems to drag out. Obviously, we know now that the transfer window is going to be open at the end of the month, and then you've got a closing in October. 5th of October is the deadline for European deals. Obviously, you can still do deals domestically within, if you're trying to sign players from EFL clubs. But yeah, I wonder, are we going to spend between the end of July and the start of October wondering, will Jadon Sancho go to Manchester United? But obviously, if United are playing Champions League football. But you know what? One thing we haven't talked about, if they don't get the top four, they have a great chance of winning the Europa League. They did it in 2017.
True.
And the fact that you're looking at teams, the draw, they've obviously got a favourable draw that they're going to be playing Copenhagen by the looks of it. And then they're into, they could end up playing Wolves or something in a semi-final. Who's the best team left that could beat United in the Europa League? You're looking at maybe Sevilla, you've got Roma, Inter Milan, but Sevilla are playing Roma. So there's not much there that would strike much fear into United, and they're obviously full of confidence. So if they don't get top four, they have that safety net of the Europa League, something they did under Mourinho in 2017. So yeah, I'd be very, very surprised if United weren't playing Champions League next season.
Just a quick one on Liverpool then. You mentioned lifting the trophy against Chelsea next week. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of days about the 100-point barrier, about them not kind of eclipsing that, not potentially eclipsing last year's points tally as well if they don't win their last two games. Does that matter to Klopp at this point? Like the Arsenal defeat obviously was a complete aberration. Any other day of the week, Liverpool probably win that game. Like, you do get the sense though that this was important. Even the fact that Klopp was playing it down almost supported that cause a little bit. That after they won the league title, actually going and getting 100 points, saying, no, we managed to do this thing that Manchester City did last season or the season before, and we managed to do it just as good as them, if not better. Like, I think that the whole idea of Liverpool rubber stamping themselves as one of the true great teams would have been high on the agenda for this team, and perhaps the way they're finishing the season, perhaps not getting that 100 points or crossing that threshold, it's just a little bit of a disappointment to Klopp at this juncture.
Yeah, well, I think what made City's 100 points more impressive was the following season they got 98 points and they won the league. So if Liverpool obviously aren't going to get 100 points this season, but if they win the league next season, then nobody will be talking about the fact that they missed out on the 100 points. How do you make yourself considered as a great team? You win multiple titles. So under Klopp, they won a Champions League and a Premier League. And, to put it into context, no Liverpool manager have won a league for 30 years. Like, that's, Jurgen Klopp has done that. So, I genuinely don't think he's too worried about the 100 points. Probably, he doesn't like losing, so he'd be a bit peeved that you get the likes of Virgil van Dijk and Alisson making mistakes. Alisson's made the odd mistake, but Van Dijk, we don't see this. So they just have to make sure, like, this little patchy form that they've had, obviously since the restart, where they've lost a couple of games and they've drawn a few, and obviously before the lockdown they got knocked out of the Champions League and they lost that game against Watford. All of this will be irrelevant if Liverpool hit the ground running next season and they retain the title. But obviously the court appeal that City won during the week, that's a game changer, because it looks like City now are in a position to go out and spend some money during the summer, which at the moment it doesn't look like Liverpool are going to do that. So as good as Liverpool's first 11 is, I was looking at that bench against Arsenal the other night thinking, who do you bring on if you need to turn a game around?
Yeah. Quick one on the relegation battle. Who's going down, in your view? Like, a couple of weeks ago, it looked certain that the bottom three are going to be the bottom three.
I think that's the way it's going to stay. Yeah. Like 3 minutes away, Aston Villa were from a massive result. And look, they've given themselves a chance. If you're looking at tonight's game, a draw is a great result for either team tonight. If West Ham lose, obviously then they're in the situation where they've got United away next week, and then they finish with the game against Villa. Watford play City and Arsenal. So if Watford lose, so if you're Villa or Bournemouth, you just want one of them to lose to give you a chance. But looking at the goal difference, I just think, West Ham have the best goal difference. Villa have the worst. So that's where Villa could be in trouble. But you know, Villa playing Arsenal at home, and then they obviously have West Ham away. Villa will think maybe they have a chance of picking up something against Arsenal. If they can bring it to the final day, then they'll be thinking like that's what they want right now. But I still think the way it is probably the way it's going to stay. And you know, obviously last week the fact that Villa and Bournemouth won on the same day was pretty remarkable, considering not many people saw that coming.
It's been some week for Manchester City. They can get into an FA Cup final this weekend. Not as important as the Cassie ring, obviously. It's quite a setup for the FA Cup semi-finals. It's as high-profile a semi-final, not high-profile, but as, I guess, attractive a set of fixtures we've had in the FA Cup semi-finals for quite some time. Now, there's going to be interest in this. I think we're still on a bit of a bounce from the feel of what is like a new season at the moment. So it feels kind of a bit more important this year at the FA Cup. I think, like, Arsenal obviously have the carrot of potentially qualifying for Europe via the FA Cup. I think Manchester City just wants another trophy and keep this good week going.
Yeah, well, see, what's going to end up happening is you're there talking about the Liverpool 100 points and not getting it, and already you can see what's emerging. City have won the League Cup. If they win the FA Cup, if they win the Champions League, we're going to get the who's had the better season. But, you know, if you ask a Liverpool fan, what would you rather? Liverpool fans would say the Premier League. It's the one that they've been wanting for years. So City are obviously, you know, strong favourites to beat Arsenal. Arsenal have surprised them before in the FA Cup, but I just hope Arsenal don't get too carried away with what happened the other night, because Liverpool effectively...
It was a freak result.
It really was. So, but you know what? If you think of the first 20 minutes of that game back after the restart, where Arsenal actually caused City a few issues when they were able to get at them. Obviously, Aubameyang was rested the other night. You know, he didn't start. So there's definitely potential for Arsenal. But I suppose one encouraging thing was, as you know, lucky as Arsenal were to get those 2 goals gifted to them, Liverpool pushed for that equaliser in the second half and they didn't get it. And this is an Arsenal team that are perceived as being very weak at the back. I've been very impressed with Martinez in goal.
Yeah, he's been class.
You know, obviously he got blocked down by Firmino, nearly conceded. One thing I've noticed about him, though, is if you're an elite striker and you're one-on-one with him, dink the ball over him, because he seems to go to ground very early. If you think of the Mopé goal and if you think of Son's goal, it's because Martinez spreads and he actually hits the ground quite early. So you can just chip it over him if you have that ability.
I can see us playing that clip in future. Our goalkeeping expert Phil Egan has called it now. Chip the ball over Emi Martinez. Just a quick one before we let you go. We've only got a couple of minutes. La Liga last night, fairly eventful. Zidane doing it again. Lionel Messi doing it again. And when I mean doing it again, I mean calling out the board, his teammates again. He is not a happy camper, but all of a sudden things look rosy at Real Madrid again.
It's unbelievable when you think about it. So Zidane has now won 2 La Liga titles, 3 Champions Leagues. Remember, he walked out on the club after winning the 3rd Champions League. He said, I'm going out on top. Comes back and everyone kind of thought, why did you come back? Like, he just walked into a mess because Lopetegui, it didn't work out. And then he wins the league title. And they're not out of that tie with Manchester City. They need to score first, obviously. Obviously, you know, Ramos either, because he got sent off in the first leg. But if they were to score first in that second leg against City, they could certainly give City a bit of a scare. But yeah, we don't, you know, we talk about Pep Guardiola, we talk about Jurgen Klopp as these elite managers. Look at what Zidane has won, but he's not talked about in the same breath, because we still don't really know, like, what is Zinedine Zidane's philosophy of football managing?
Do you have the answer to that question?
I'm just going to throw it out there and just leave the studio now.
Yeah. Phil, great stuff. More to chat about, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks. Just one quick word. Is Messi going to be a Barcelona player next season?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No question?
No, like, say, pretty certain he's going
Pretty certain. Okay, fair enough. That's confidence there if you're a Barcelona fan this morning.